Cut the Check podcast, brought to you by Craft Farmer, bringing you weekly motivation, unmatched cultivation tech, and telling you some badass war stories along the way. Welcome to another edition of Cut the Check podcast with Craft Farmer. I've got an amazing guest with us today, MaryAnn. We were fortunate enough to meet in our CrossFit class.
Yep, that's right.
And it's kind of interesting, but I'm like super outgoing. I'm loud. I'm very controlling when I'm in a room. And for some reason in that class, and like when I go there, maybe it's just because I'm not necessarily a morning person, but I've noticed, I think I've been going for like 8 months now. Like when I look at myself there, I'm very quiet, reserved, stick to myself. I'm completely different than I am in any other environment. And I find it like sometimes I think about it, I'm like, why does it's like people don't know who I am in this place? Like they don't really know. And I've never been able to put my finger on what that is. But the reason I bring this up is from the very early stages, you were very outgoing, very friendly. You're that person in the gym that makes everyone else feel comfortable, almost like will put your own agenda aside to make sure others around you are comfortable and they feel invited and they feel welcome. And so I've always been really attracted to you for that reason of like how sweet you are. And,
thank you, Lance.
Stuff like that.
Gosh, what a nice thing to say. I think that it's so important to me, like fitness. My fitness is so important to me that I want to bestow that upon other people. And I
also think with that is like it's a very intense atmosphere when you think about like CrossFit and a coach and these exercises. And I think that we can get really caught up and this is really intense and like you bring this just element of fucking relax and enjoy the process.
Right. And, that also, that part of fitness is so important to me that I really want to show people that are either new to CrossFit or not new to CrossFit. There are really intense people that go to our gym. I've been to a bunch of CrossFit gyms.
Incredible athletes. Like amazing.
Truly. But really, anybody who shows up is an incredible athlete by showing up. Like that proves your strength walking in the door. It's really intimidating. I have been to different CrossFit gyms around the country. When I travel, I always try to drop in. And I really kind of look for that one person. I look for the me in that gym.
Oh, really?
That I can kind of buddy up with. And
does that make you feel more comfortable in a new
I
space?
think so. I'm great on my own. Honestly, I'm great on my own. I think I'm confident enough that I can go to a new gym or box. CrossFit gyms are lovingly called a box. But I can show up at a new box anywhere and I can scale on my own. I just need to know where's the light bar and where's the lighter plate. So,
right.
I'm confident enough to do that. I don't know if I was 7 years ago when I started or 8 years ago when I started. I really tried to keep up with the people. And it wasn't until after I stopped trying so hard that I made all these gains. Like I'm in pretty incredible shape. I'm 63. I'm in better shape now than I ever was, even at 35, 40.
That's amazing.
I think because I stopped trying to compete, keep up, do what's written on the board, it just doesn't work. And
right. I mean, the stuff that they put on the board sometimes, here's what I don't understand is I understand that every box is quote unquote governed under, the CrossFit rules and stuff, but
whoever they are,
a lot of the exercises and the weights is not set up for any of us that are in the gym. That's the only thing that I don't really like about it is it's very easy to scale and we all scale, but why is everything set up to this national gold level of athleticism when clearly none of us are there.
Right. None of us are going to the games.
Yeah, it seems
Right.
like the workouts are designed for gold level,
Yep.
hardened athletes.
Yep.
And the only thing that I'm surprised is over all these years, how popular it's gotten.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a revised limits and thing. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter since we scale, but just some of the numbers for what you're supposed to lift is so incredibly high.
Right.
Like,
And
it's hard
dangerous,
think that
to be honest.
the body
yeah.
can, and that's one thing about CrossFit is if you cannot maintain your form through these intense workouts, it's very dangerous to do.
Indeed. It really is. And so just, again, it's really important to me that other people around me understand, my whole theory, which is sustainable, enjoyable, and affordable. So is this movement sustainable? I need to pick a weight or a rep scheme that I can sustain throughout the whole entire time. Say it's a 30-minute workout or a 5-round workout. Can I sustain this movement throughout that time, the required amount of time or repetitions? Enjoyable, am I going to really enjoy it? Can I pick a weight that is really fun and enjoyable because I want to have fun. I don't want to hate it, because if I hate it, I'm not going to want to go back tomorrow. And then affordable is not how much is it going to cost me to come here? How much are they charging me every month, which is considerable. CrossFit, everybody knows.
Much more than a gym membership.
That's absolutely. I mean, we could go to Crunch for $10 a month or something like that, but it's not that financial affordability. What is the affordability to my body? So if I try to lift heavy, if I don't have great form, if I can't sustain this movement for the required number of reps, my form and technique breaks down, and that's when I get hurt. And frankly, at 63, I get hurt. I don't bounce back like I used to. But I just want to talk too about what you were asking. The gold standard, like the RX workout, is what you're talking about. We all need a goal to work towards, right? Like in anything, runners, CrossFitters, whatever, any endeavor that we do, we need a goal. And I think that people do follow CrossFit Games, and they do follow professional CrossFit athletes, just like you would an Olympic star, or you want to follow, Olympic ice skating, say. I think that they do put the RX workout and the gold standard there as something to work towards. For most of us, it will be forever unattainable. My goal is to have a pre-scaled, like master's class, 40 and over, 50 and over, 60 and over, whatever, that's pre-scaled. So we don't have to automatically go, well, let's see, that's, 35-pound dumbbell. I can't do that, but I can do this. Like, no, just put it up there. Here's your master's RX workout. This is what we're going to be doing, and just have fun with it.
In my opinion, there's no exercise or routine you can do out there that is as technical and requires so much energy and strength than CrossFit.
Yeah, it's a great, I love it. I was hooked from the very beginning, and I'll die doing CrossFit.
And
if it doesn't kill me, I'll still die doing it.
For some reason, there's something about the uncomfortableness of it that attracts me so much. Like, you'll never see me in a gym doing Olympic lifting, ever. But it's weird. It's like I look forward to it when I go there.
Yeah.
And now I've got this weird thing in my, so one of the things for me is like, if I can work out throughout the day and not be noticed by the coach, that's my goal now, is if I'm invincible,
he's not correcting
meaning he
you.
doesn't correct me, I'm doing really good, and so for me, I never had, luckily for me in my head, I've never had the thing with weights and who's watching. I mean, I am 40, so it's probably why I don't care anymore. But I've really been like, I want to do these forms perfect. I want to do these right. I want to be able to do them throughout the entire workout. I don't want to hurt myself. And now here I am. I used to be like, oh my God, snatches and all these, like, so just, why did I come? And now it's like nothing. Like, I look forward to the movement.
To it.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it sure is.
I don't like those movements, but there's something about.
It's always fun when you're done.
Yes.
It's the payoff. And that's what we're talking about, is the payoff. And the CrossFit payoff, in my opinion, for me, is way more, is bigger, more huge, more dynamic than anything else I've ever done. You know, I've been athletic for all of my life, but this gets me to where I want to go in a more efficient way. And I feel better about myself, honestly. Like, I mean, I look pretty good.
Yeah.
And it's not about look. It's not, I got to go back and say it's, you know, for me, like what? I'm 63. Am I going to go, you know, work for Victoria's Secret now, you know, modeling their swimsuits? I don't think so. But, you know, I have functional movement, and I'm mobile. I am strong. And that's really important to me. But I could probably model for Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could. And it's just like when you do those movements, the flexibility of the body and like the hips, and, you know, there's so much stuff like I can't do still, you know, but just those movements have made me, like, remembering how I felt the first day, and then even tried to get a friend of mine to go with me, and like watching them die over the, like, literally thought, I remember feeling dead inside, like I can't come back tomorrow. And and what transforms into like the 3 months, and your breathing and your movement and your flexibility and how you feel. And
but I think it's
like it.
No, there isn't. But, and I think what you're talking about too is conditioning. Yes,
for sure.
But it's also your more confidence. That's one of the first things that I noticed when I started CrossFit. Like, I would leave there and I just was standing up straighter.
Yeah.
You know, I had more confidence in everything at work.
Well, there's so much to do with posture and your core, and
but even emotionally, like emotional confidence.
Well, when your body starts feeling better, your mind strengthens. I've noticed that. Like,
yeah, for sure.
When I was in the best condition of my life, I was just so, like, they're unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy the amount of confidence I had just because of my physical ability.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I think that there also is this big stigma around CrossFit, which a lot of people are very intimidated by it, because you see the athletes and the numbers and the stuff they do, and you're just like, dude, I can't do that. But it's like the most inviting place there is, from going to different states and cities and like you said, dropping into other workouts, to watching our coach, Chuck. And obviously I don't go to other classes. I go to his, so that's who my coach is.
Same.
But just watching, like, how consistent he is every single day, and shows up, and how kind he is and nice, and the people who are new spend so much time with them, and you get a personal trainer every single day who holds your hand, who pushes you through the workout, who shows you to do it right,
keeps you safe.
You have people around you rooting for you. Like, there's not a better thing out there. If everybody listening, if you ever feel like you want to try something different, and you want to try the most amazing workout you've ever had in your life, like, really highly suggest that you get completely outside of your comfort zone and go drop into a local CrossFit class. And I think you'll be very, very pleasantly surprised on what you're capable of doing, how the workouts are scalable.
You know, I think that it's this, talking normal people, like you and I are normal people. We're not going to the CrossFit Games.
No, never.
Just never. We're never going.
I'm not even interested in competing in the poster on the wall where
right?
every Friday you do a workout for points.
Right. I know. Me neither. I don't do that either. Although I did do the open, which
That's
is
what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I did do that. I did do that.
Good for you. You stepped outside of your comfort zone.
I did. I was
Someone
actually...
get you to do that with them, or was that on your own?
No, it was on my own.
Really?
Yeah.
What spawned that?
I don't know. I said all year long, I'm not going to do it. I haven't done it in like 3 years.
Did you maintain it? You kept up? You showed up every Friday? You didn't fall behind or anything?
Yep. No.
That's great.
But I haven't done it in like 3, maybe even 4 years. I didn't do well. See, I'm so competitive with myself. I didn't do well the last time I did it. I'm like, I'm not doing that again. Why? Why do I want to do this and feel so bad about myself? Why? Why would I do that? And this year I'm like, I have made significant gains. I'm pretty good out there, the way I scale. I do pretty good. Let's see if my theory has proved positive about sustainable, enjoyable, affordable, and how I scale. So I did, for my age class, I did the scaled option, which was still very challenging. And I ended up at like 358 in the world or something like that, out of like 1,100 people my age, women my age. So I was pretty proud of that. Of course, I'm like, why am I not number 2? I'm always thinking like, I should be better. But it was good. I was good. Maybe I'll do it again next year. I don't know.
I don't think about that stuff anymore, which is really cool. Like how I stack up against the rest of the world,
Well, you're not 63.
No, but I mean, I'm going to be 40 this year, and I'm very competitive, and you always want to be the best at what you do.
Course.
But I don't know what something's shifted in my mind and my brain, whereas my focus is making sure that I'm doing everything daily that fulfills my happiness, and just knowing that where I am and what I'm doing and how much I enjoy it. Like I've stopped comparing myself, I guess, and holding like I tell I'm a fucking winner. I'm a champion. Like I've got a gold belt on my bookshelf. If you didn't notice that, like I just live that every day. Like I've done this. I'm the man. Like
Sure. I think and we all strive to be good, better, best, but and I haven't done it in like 4 years, the open competition, but I did it this year because I am older. I'm stronger now than I ever have been, and I'm older, so I figured those two things would work to my advantage. And I age up next year, so there's that.
How many people do it? Did it tell you?
In my age group, there was like 1,100. So
imagine being 1,100, like
I know,
getting your information back, and you've placed
last
1,100, last in the world. What does that feel like?
Yeah, I don't know.
You still placed though.
You did. You
still, there's only 1,100 people out of the billions could make this happen and decided that they were going to do this, and they were going to sign up and show up every Friday and do these insane workouts, and you're a winner regardless.
The people on the bottom, like there's a whole bunch of people that signed up and never do it. So those are the people on the bottom. So, but still, what? Maybe the last was like 900. I don't know. You can filter all kinds of ways. And so I, like, the last time I did it, I was like, okay, let's filter Northern California. Okay, there's the world. Let's filter California. Okay, let's filter Northern California. No, I got to be better. Okay, let's filter Northern California nurses. Because you can, they look at your profile. Yeah.
Damn, I might stack up hard. I should check out growers.
I know, right? Exactly. And so there were 3 nurses in my age group. This is 4 years ago in Northern California, and I was number 3. I was like, shit, why did I even look at that?
That's funny.
Anyway, I know. Oh, well.
So during that also our time, in the gym, you've shared some things that like have hit closer to home because I get all kinds of messages from different people going through all kinds of different things in life. Like we've all gone through some crazy things, and when we look at the timeline of when we've gone through them and the experience that we've had in life, now I feel like more than ever there's a larger support system for people because of like social media.
It's more out.
Yeah. There's more people that you can lean on. There's people you've never met that you can send messages to. There's podcasts. There's all kinds of different things. And like going through a lot of my things, looking back, there wasn't that kind of support. And I guess it's different from anybody, but there's a sense of almost like freedom to entrust and share with what you're going through with someone who doesn't necessarily know you personally.
Agreed.
You can reach out and be like, here's everything that's happening to me and what I'm going through. And sometimes it's easier to share with someone you don't know personally or who's been in your life who you might think might judge you, or tell a family member or something like that. And it seems like for whatever reason, things that I've shared in my past and the things that I've gone through, it's been positive, for other people. And it's made me realize like just sharing our own experiences are super positive for other people.
Same. Yeah.
So many times you're like, well, how did you get through that? Or how did you deal with that? And like hearing all these other experiences, like you're never the only one to go through this. Someone's always already gone through this, already battled these fights, fought these demons, gone through all these kind of things.
Right.
And you've been very open and sharing, your experiences and your past. And I wanted to kind of get into that and like how that even started and where you were in life. And, so let's rewind it all the way back.
All the way back.
Were you raised in Sonoma County?
No, I grew up in San Francisco, and my dad was an Irish police officer.
Wow.
My mom...
That must have been amazing.
I was
being
adopted.
In the city.
Yeah, I love a city though.
I mean, San Francisco, you don't realize it till you go visit other cities, and like the big thing for me was like going to Detroit and starting to work there is it's so spread out and open. San Francisco is so congested.
Yeah, super small city. I was in the Sunset. I grew up in the Sunset, which is just like a big grid, and my parents were great parents. I was adopted. My parents were older when I was adopted. They had adopted my brother 2 years before I came home. And they did the best they could. They were older. They're older to me than, I am older. How can I say this and make sense? I'm older to my children. Like I was older when my kids were born than my parents were to me. But somehow, they were just older people. Like some people are just, they were like born older. I don't know how to say it. But
it's like when you see a young person, you're like, oh man, there's a wise man in this person. Like they're just act older than they are.
Yeah, it is that. Just like, my mom always dressed older, like not just style, but, they were very limited in their ability to see my life through my eyes, like music and my as I got old enough to have my own religious views, my own political views, my own views on race and relationships and my place in the world, it was really hard for them to see things from my perspective. Like, I think they totally expected me to maintain their values and their thoughts about how the world is and is
everything that they pass down onto you is how you're going to be.
And it wasn't.
And you're in such this diverse climate like San Francisco. It's potentially one of the most diverse places in the United States, like with how many different ethnicities and towns and spiritual beliefs and whatever you want to call.
But you can, and that was kind of part of it, because you can live in a very diverse area but still keep to your own. And I think that's what I'm saying. My parents, all of their friends were white. There were no people of color in my life growing up. And my dad, being a police officer, I think he had a lot of, racial bias. I know we all do, but he was very verbal and open about his. And so it was difficult for me because I didn't feel like that. And so, for example...
Was this the 70s?
This was the 70s. Yeah, I was born in 1960.
So this was...
Just right after the Vietnam War.
And then right after all of this civil unrest within the country and where almost like racism and everything was really put out in the forefront.
And I jumped right on that because I listened to my parents and their friends, and I'm like, that doesn't feel right to me.
So that was still happening. Like when I think of all this, I think of like mid-60s. So when all the cities were really having a lot of these fights and interracial fighting and
riots and things like that.
So what was it like in San Francisco coming out of that in the early 70s, and from what you're remembering?
So I think people started to talk about racism. Of course, segregation had ended. Kids weren't being bused to different schools anymore. There was more integration, and so but again, I'll say it again, my parents sent me to Catholic high school because that's what you did. You didn't go to public schools because they just believed that we're us. It was like we and them still. And I didn't get down like that. I didn't believe that.
I think Catholic, and I don't know anything about it, but like my dad was even sent to like a private Catholic school.
It is, yep.
Really intense how their family beliefs were and what they're going to do with their kids, and here are the rules. And
Yep. Absolutely. And even spiritually, I was super young, like 6. And I thought, these miracles that they're saying, I just couldn't go with it. Basically, I never believed that Jesus was the Son of God, and that kind of wiped me off the list of Christians right away. So that was really difficult growing up, and I always wanted to be Jewish, which I can talk about more as we go. But anyway, so in high school, I was the only white girl in the Black Students Union. I wanted to hang out with, people of color. I wanted to know about, not just to be cool. It wasn't that because, isn't that like systematic racism where you go to hang out with somebody of color just to be cool? It's like it wasn't that. I wanted to know about their culture. I was always super interested in language. I wanted to learn different languages and travel the world was my plan after graduation. And, it was hard with my parents. It was really, really difficult.
They didn't understand.
They didn't. No. My music was noise. Turn down that noise. Even the lyrics were, communistic lyrics. I don't know, just crazy. But, God love them. They did the best they could. They thought they were protecting me. They did the best that they could in what their eyes was protecting me. Honestly, they really did. And so, of course I was, by this time sneaking out, smoking pot. I was hanging out with like the bad kids, which I thought were hilariously, uproariously fun. I loved that time of my life because I felt like I had arrived,
Where are we now? Are we 16?
I'm 16, 17, 18.
What's that like? In the city, you're sneaking out and like you're in the city. Like, what What are you doing back then? Are you going to other people's houses? Are you
Yeah,
guys
other
running around
people's-
the streets? Are all the
Yep.
restaurants open till 3, 4 a.m. like they are now?
No,
Was
it's not. No. Plus, we were in the Sunset. We just went to parks to smoke pot and drink, you know. I always had to kind of either make an excuse that I was going to my friend's house, or I would just, you know, sneak out and hope that I could sneak back in before, you know, my dad. And my dad was a cop, so, you know, there was always that. And we hung out at this one park at 24th and Vicente, Parkside Park. And so we had this little dachshund named Hilda. And so I would say, I'm going to the movies. And he'd be like, okay. And we'd be at the park. And so here would come my dad. And I think he knew I knew because he would whistle. He would whistle as he walked the dog. And they'd say, MaryAnn, here comes your dad with Hilda. And so I'd like, you know, ditch myself in the bushes. And everybody would say, hi, Mr. Cantwell. And then he'd walk by. And I mean, I'm sure he knew. They were not stupid. So I graduated high school and I got a job. I moved out because, you know, I was going to be my own person. My parents moved to Sebastopol.
Wow.
And
Your dad's retired at this point?
my dad retired. He was the head trainer of the mounted police.
Wow.
So he was kind of like cowboy dad. My dad was ever so cool.
Which is
drank
amazing
a
when you
lot.
still see that. Like you still, to this day in San Francisco,
See the mounted police.
mounted
Yeah.
police, which is so
Wow.
wild to
Yeah.
see it.
Well, he was, yeah. So he was like cowboy dad. My dad was super cool. You know,
You said he was training. Did he ride? Was he
Yeah.
a mounted police officer?
Yep.
Like every day?
He trained most days.
Wow.
He would get into uniform and do the parades and the
Because those horses are so incredibly
bomb-proof.
trained.
Yeah, he would take them upstairs into buildings, into like, you know, set off firecrackers underneath
That's
of them.
crazy.
Yeah, he did some pretty sketchy.
So I mean,
shit with those
that's
horses.
training horses at that point. Like,
Yeah,
wow,
like literally training horses.
pretty cool. Now that I'm put two and two together, that one of your sons is so interested in.
Well, they never met
Horses.
my dad. He died before.
But even to just see that, like for you
Yeah.
as a mom,
Yep.
to know how your dad was, and then
Yep.
see one of your sons take up so much interest, you know, in
Yeah.
equestrian
Yep.
arts.
Yeah. It's expensive sport. But my parents moved, my dad retired, and my parents moved to Sebastopol, and they had their little
And you're still in
farm.
San Francisco?
Still in San Francisco. And I failed. You know, I was 18 years old. I got fired from my job for something. I can't remember. I would take a lot of acid at work. And
Really?
yeah,
I mean, when I take acid, I'm like fucking.
I know.
I don't think I'm. There's no way
That's
I'm
probably why I
functioning.
got fired.
No way I'm functioning or
But
being able to deal with anyone around me.
Well, my boyfriend at the time, his mother was our dealer. So I know it was really convenient, but we were doing a lot of cocaine and a lot of pot. I never really
did it
liked
happen
pot.
at one time? Did like, I mean, obviously weed is. They always say weed's the gateway drug because it's the easiest, it's the friendliest, it's the safest,
Sure.
and then
Yeah,
it
no,
opens up into other things.
Yeah, I smoked pot with my friend Kelly Wren, who ended up committing suicide when I was in nursing school. But yeah, we walked home from high school. We were juniors in high school, and we walked home, and I smoked my first joint with her.
So she had it.
She had it. I never really liked pot. But anyway, my boyfriend at that time, his mom was our dealer. So I would bring, you know, pre-rolled joints to school, my Marlboro pack, and I would sell joints for $1 a piece out in front of school, in my little school uniform. And oh dear, I sold cocaine at my senior prom.
Do you remember doing coke for the first time?
Mm-mm.
But you remember smoking?
Mm-hmm.
And you're just kind of like, I don't know what this is about.
Yeah, I
I'm
didn't
not
like
really...
pot. I got really like here's me on pot. This is my impression of myself on pot. Oh dear. Am I breathing? Okay. Am I breathing? Am I breathing? Watch me. Breathing. Shit, my heart's not beating. Okay, breathe. Heart. I can't do both at the same time. Like it was just a disaster. Like I was no fun to be around. So
What about acid? Do you remember like the first time?
loved acid. Yes, I do remember the first time. And it was so much fun. I dropped like every weekend for about a whole year. How am I still alive? I do not know.
It's a hit? Like it was a little piece of paper or something?
It was either a piece of paper or a little tiny square of plastic that would just melt.
And like one hit was on the little square. Is that kind of how it was?
I guess so. Don't ask me. The highest I have ever been was with Debbie Rosignol. And we were on Haight Street, and this guy came up and said, hey, you want some acid? We're like, okay. So we bought a hit each of this acid, and we just came on, and we went to this bar. I don't know. I had a fake ID, and we just drank. We ended up at this party, and they had the nitrous tank.
Yep.
And I remember sitting there with this like nitrous, hose, thinking, shit, I'm just like really high. It was a little uncomfortable, to be honest. And then what happened, it was soon after that, I had a huge anxiety attack.
While high on something?
On acid,
That must be intense.
Oh, man.
I mean, we've heard about people that haven't recovered from trips, or trips have done things to them, and their life has never been the same, kind of thing.
I can see it. But that's the last time I did acid. But that's okay, because I had cocaine at that point, and now
Did you find that just at that time in your life, coke was just more of a functional drug compared to like others?
No, it actually wasn't, because it was only like a weekend thing.
Got it. It wasn't like every day.
No.
So it's like it's the weekend, we're partying.
Hard.
No mushrooms though?
Nope. That ended my hallucinogenic. I've done mushroom. I liked acid better, honestly. I tried to get those psilocybin. I just couldn't get them down. It was like...
It's hard.
The worst taste ever.
For sure.
Yeah. Now I'm in nursing school, and believe it or not, there was a group of us, and we just thought it was a great idea to get some syringes and shoot cocaine up in our arm.
Really?
Let's try this.
This was in nursing school?
Nursing school, yeah.
So
there was a group of us.
Let's go back
Let's try this.
So literally, people are having fun partying on weekends, and then it was something that just came up in conversation, like, hey, what's this like?
Yep. Hey, do you want to try to shoot up cocaine? Yes. Yes, I do.
But you don't know how to do it, though, right?
Right. So
does someone in the group kind of say, hey, this is what we're going to do? Or how does
Colin had done it one time.
He was a nurse, a male nurse?
He was in, yes. Yes, he was. There was Colin, Joe, and me.
So from an outside perspective, thinking of shooting cocaine, I'm going to mix it with some water and baking soda and heat it up. And
just water.
Just water?
And a cigarette filter.
What does a cigarette filter do?
It's a filter. So you drop it in the spoon and draw it up.
Draw it through the filter?
Yes.
So like there's no chunks or something like that?
Yeah, but we're using tap water. Like this whole thing to me now.
For sure.
To me now is like so ridiculously insane.
But I mean, unfortunately, that was a lot of shit that kids do. And when you're in this real world phase of...
That's right.
I remember being there doing some weird shit in my life, looking back now and being like, oh my God, it gives me chills to even think.
Like, okay, I don't even drink like water out of my tap. First of all, we're on a well at my house, but I drink like bottled water, like exclusively. But we were using tap water. Dirty? Well, whatever, just whatever. I just drink bottled water. Like I'm bougie that way. And here we are. But then what happened was...
So what do? Do you take turns, or does everybody get their needle ready at the same time?
Well, we're in school, so we just stole the package of needles. Everybody had their
insulin needles? Mm-hmm. So it's like a 29 gauge, 30 gauge needle?
Yeah, something like that.
And so where did you shoot it up into? Like
your
what part
arm.
of your...
Arm.
Into like literally into your vein?
Yeah.
Tied the thing on to make
just like in the movies.
What was it like? Like tell us about the feeling of it coming on and where you went and what you remember.
Yeah, I don't like talking about it a lot. I will, but I have a very different life right now. And so I don't like talking about it a whole lot. Like, it's just, I have so moved on, which I know we're going to talk about, but it's like the dwell on it almost like glorifies it or romanticizes this whole deal. It's cringy for me because it was so, it turned out so badly for me.
As far as the whole experience and what it led into and other things.
Yeah.
Why do you think it was that was the turning point that led into like what you're discussing?
I can tell you, yeah. I met a boy. It's always a boy. It's always a boy.
Before we go,
or a girl,
before
I
we
guess,
get too far, we won't talk about this. Can I ask you like what the high was like?
Oh, just super rush, and then it goes away, and then you need to find more. That's basically it.
So you feel inside you like when it goes away, you want more of it. Like you want that feeling 100%. Again.
And you cannot find it again until the next time.
But it was clearly different than sniffing?
Yes. But I would not recommend it to anybody. Yeah, it's bad. Cocaine, first of all, cocaine is a bad drug, especially today.
Anything today, unfortunately, like
it's just
powder-wise is just not safe. Like,
no. We talked about that.
Listen,
we talked about this.
Yeah, I don't ever pass judgment on anyone for what they're doing or anything now, but like, you know, when I hear peers or, you know, we're in Vegas and again, like I don't ever pass judgment, but I have a concern for overall humanity and people that I know. And knowing what I know now with fentanyl and how bad it is and how bad everybody's cut things were and I guess it's very hard for me to understand with life so amazing and so precious. And like a majority have done cocaine in the past and you're at a party and it's a weekend and you do a line or you go to the fucking bathroom with someone but now thinking about it and what fentanyl does and how bad fentanyl is and how many lives it's taken and how it takes the most innocent people who would never do fentanyl. I don't understand why people are willing to roll the dice every time that they'll do a bump. I just don't understand that because now you buy a baggie and you don't know where it's come or who it's cut from. And fentanyl is so fucking widespread that we see police officers, I mean, how terrible it is selling it and doing all this stuff. Like it's everywhere. Why are we even willing to risk this little high for a near death or death experience?
So let me continue and I'll talk about that. So I met this boy and he was super cute. I'm 28.
And you're a nurse now?
I'm working as a nurse, yeah.
So you've already gone through your nursing school and everything.
Yeah, graduated from nursing school. I was, no, I'm in school. I'm like...
In San Francisco?
Yeah. City College of San Francisco. I'm in school and I'm at a clinical rotation at Kaiser over on Geary. I walked across the street to get a hamburger at Cable Car Burger, one of my favorite burgers of all time.
Is it still there?
I don't know. And I met a guy there. And
at the burger place?
The burger place. And we started talking and we exchanged numbers and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this guy's super cute. You know, he was a surfer. And he drummed in a band on the weekends. And he owned a production company, music production. And I'm like, this guy's super cute. And so... we got together like the next couple days and he was smoking heroin on foil and I am shooting cocaine and we're like, hey, let's shoot up heroin. And that's what we did.
So he was as open to like just do it in front of you, even though he just like it was like that back then. There wasn't this.
I mean, I don't think it was I don't think it was like, oh, hi, yeah, let's go get a drink. It wasn't like that. I think that, you know, we went to dinner. I think we started talking about habits and our free time and, you know, do you party? Yeah, I party. What do you like to do? Oh, well, you know, I really like
So
heroin.
you mentioned it again, like, so that was, did it graduate from doing coke to at that point just recreational shooting it?
Yeah.
So that high that you felt was so much better than just the powder substance, like up
Well, it
your
was
nose.
just different. It was different. You can't say better, worse. It's just different.
It's like different ways of consuming weed or alcohol, or
Yeah. Like,
but
are
at the
not
same time you're a
edibles
nurse,
are
so
not edibles different than smoking?
yes,
Yeah,
much
it's like
different.
that. It's like that.
But it's fun. But you're functional. Obviously, you're still a nurse.
Class
You're
valedictorian.
you're. I mean, that's
Yeah.
so you're able to function, and
Keep
then
it together.
was it an
Yeah.
everyday thing, or was it just random thing?
No, it wasn't every
Were you
day
feeling like
until
were you feeling like the urge for it? Did that had that already happened? Like what addiction is?
no, because I don't think cocaine is like that. Honestly, at least it wasn't for me. But when I got into heroin, that was truly
Has
my
a
drug
much
of choice.
stronger grip over you.
Well, not only that, but you know, it like I've got plenty of energy on my own. Like it just like okay, this is great.
It like mellowed you down.
100%.
So
So
for someone who's so high
never touched
energy all the
cocaine
time,
hardly ever again after that.
so
was all heroin.
he was consuming a different way,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Was he drinking
So we
it,
just went. No, he was smoking it.
smoking it?
Yeah. So we just went into this big drug blender, and
Was that the first time you'd tried heroin?
yes, ever.
Can you talk about that experience, or
I
what
got
it was?
really super sick. Every time I would barf, every single time.
Which is common,
Yeah.
right? Very common.
But I
Do you
just
remember anything before then?
you know, it's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah, let's try that.
But I remember being
Let's
there,
try that.
young, and there's different drugs around, and you're like, oh well, let's try a knife rip of this, or let's try sniffing it. Let's try. It's a weird,
I know.
fucking
And
thing.
here I'm
It's
in
like
school.
your curiosity
My-
overcomes you.
Totally. I'm in school. I think that, you know, I really had a crush on this guy.
So he's cool. He's
Totally cool,
hip.
super handsome, hip. But, you know, how I'm in school, like I'm in nursing school, literally nursing school. How could I, like,
How do you function?
what would possess me to go, gee, that's a great idea? Like,
Well, I think we're invincible too when we're younger.
but you were talking about fentanyl, you know, and the danger, and why would anybody risk that? Well, we had HIV. It was such a big thing, and you know, you didn't, not a thought. Like, they don't think about fentanyl today. We didn't think about HIV. It was nothing to share needles.
Did you know people that had HIV? Like, was it that common?
Yes.
Really?
Plus, you know, so now I graduated from nursing school, 1988. Graduated from nursing school. I got a job in the ICU at a big teaching hospital in the city, and
I
you know,
see. That's intensive
still
care, right?
using every day. But now it's a necessity because I would, you know, get dope sick if I didn't. So now things had changed, and it was no longer just fun. It was a necessity. So things between Robert and I really broke down because, you know, both selfish people. We each wanted our own fix, and it was very necessary, and I needed mine before I went to work, but he wouldn't go get it till after I left, and it was like trying to find the dealer. It just was like bullshitty horrible. So I was taking care of people with HIV and AIDS. I had friends that were HIV and AIDS, and even using with some friends HIV and AIDS. And we would just like clean the needle with bleach out in between and hope that we rinsed it well enough, or we got all the virus or whatever. It was like, the risk-taking behavior. So the drug itself, the guy, the old man, I'm jumping around, sorry, Owen. The old men that live in China, and they smoke opium every day. They live to be 100 years old, over 100 years old. The drug itself, the opium itself, doesn't create harm in appropriate doses. The lifestyle of a drug addict, the getting, the using, the risk-taking behavior, because your need for the drug, your obsession and your compulsion to use the drug overwhelms your sensibility. What's it cut with? I don't know.
Who cares? I just need this.
Who cares? Where'd you get this? Some guy. Our guy wasn't available. So things between, and now, now it's 2 years later, it's, almost 1990, and things are really shitty.
Just in life, you mean?
Just in life.
The patterns and everything?
Yeah. I was extremely unhealthy. I was probably 20 pounds less than what I am now. Like,
no appetite ever, and not eating?
No, not eating, not sleeping well, trying to work. Trying to hide it from everybody, always long sleeves. Let me pull my sleeves up here to know. Just super unhealthy. And, it began to be clear to me that this was not sustainable.
Like you started realizing like you need to...
Yeah, because I was working in this ICU in this huge teaching hospital with, other professionals, medical professionals. They were like publishing articles and, doing research and, making a dent in the world. And I was this little skinny, junkie, really. My life was limited to work, dealer's house, home. Boom. I couldn't see friends. I couldn't go to, my mom. My dad had since died. I couldn't go see my mom because I couldn't be gone that long. Certainly no trips, couldn't go on any vacation. It was just a very limited, lonely existence. Is
it really expensive at that time too?
I guess, I don't, a lot of this, like, I have just blocked out. Like, I don't even remember, I don't remember financially ever
being an issue. Mm-mm. And so this is 1990. Was there also, was there like was crack in the city at that point?
Loved crack. Yeah, I did love crack.
When did that kind of show up? Was that the late?
Well, I guess crack has been around. I don't really know. I mean, I found crack in like 1989. I had a short run with crack, like 1989, and then I was separated from drugs and alcohol. But I did like crack if I could do heroin with it. Yeah.
You'd mix it?
Well, you'd do one and then you'd do the other.
It wouldn't fuck you up enough. You couldn't.
No.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Crack is bad news, man.
I mean, look what it did to our society. I think that's the number one drug of absolute
destruction.
Just destruction.
Yeah.
Systematic destruction.
I'm surprised that I'm sitting here honestly, and again, I don't think about this stuff. I mean, there's so many stories, and we've talked about this at the gym and stuff, but so many like old drug stories, just trying to score, and one of the dealers would not let me use in his bathroom because I would just cry. I would like fix my drug and cry, man. He'd like, I'm sorry, you're bad for business. I'll sell this to you, but you need to leave. And just the people, just God, man,
It's amazing how resilient our bodies are.
100%. But I at the music clubs and just the skanky, gross places that you buy drugs, like these were not like in the movies where you go to a high-class hotel.
Well, also what's interesting is like when you're high or you need something, you don't give a fuck about where you're going or what that environment is around
given.
you. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's really weird how you can have a very certain way of things, and then it's like all that shit's out the window.
Yep.
When you need something.
Yep.
Or you feel like internally you have to have something.
Yep. Yep. I hated myself. I was super sick and tired of being sick and tired. I wanted to be a normal person.
So it is getting to the point where it's like a really heavy toll on you.
Yeah. Super unhealthy. I could see right away that this, dude, Robert and I were going nowhere. I needed to be away from him if I was going to. I got to the point where I was pretty willing to do anything to be separated from drugs and alcohol. And one day, I just was. I found a group of people that had been where I was, and they shared with me a spiritual solution to their problem. And I was so ready to do anything that I just like attached myself to them. I did what they did. I went
that's
where
what's
they went.
So amazing about people who are like willing to help you.
Yeah.
Like when you look back at some like, different groups or different people, like for people to be so selfless to like put them out there and, take, help.
And part of this spiritual solution is that we do lose the spiritual maladies that kept us so locked into this bad behavior, selfish, self-centered, dishonest, and fearful. Once you can offload those behaviors, you are free to help other people. And I do help other people find the same spiritual solution. But even though I was separated from drugs and alcohol, January 10th, 1990, actually, I met my husband in this group of people, and, we're separated from drugs and alcohol, our life gets better immediately, right? We look better, we're healthy.
Does it take a while for the body to purge?
100% no. It was like, I was so ready.
Wow.
Very little withdrawal because I was so ready. It's almost like your body does this crazy thing where you get so ready. It's almost like a pleasure to go through whatever discomfort. I know that sounds kooky. I believe me, I've done it twice. I'll get there. I've done it twice. And I was so willing to do anything. I was so willing to just do whatever these people told me to do. I went where they went. I like I said, I met this guy who became my very good friend. And we just kind of traveled this path together. And I was sober.
Wow.
I was sober, not recovered. So this guy and I, my good friend, He started as my friend, became my lover, fell in love with each other, and totally different than any other guy I'd ever been with. Like, he had a strong work ethic. He had a very similar story. Like, we totally understood each other. We were very interested in the same spiritual solution. And we got married. We got married, and we bought a house. We moved to Petaluma. We started to have kids. We had a whole boatload of 5 and 7 years.
Wow.
So we had jobs, cars, houses. Like, literally, we had arrived.
Did you know that, like, in that time, like, you had to leave San Francisco? Was that inevitable?
Nope.
Or
because part of this solution, the spiritual solution,
it's being able to have control wherever you are?
Yeah, because by then it wasn't about, like, even today, if I drink, it's not because you're going to have a beer right now. It's because I'm not doing what I need to do to maintain my spiritual condition. So I know I'm kind of being vague on this spiritual solution.
Well, spiritual solution can be varied for anyone
for
and their
anybody,
own beliefs
right.
and what they see. And
If I don't talk about it in a venue like this, but I'm very open to talk about it. And I think Owen's going to put up my contact information. Anybody who's struggling and wants to be separated from drugs and alcohol and wants what I have, you can contact me absolutely, and I will be more than happy to talk to you individually. So anyway, moving on, things started to break down again because what was the spiritual malady? Selfish, self-centered, dishonest, fearful, and without a program of recovery, if you're an alcoholic or an addict, and you're sober, but you don't have a program of recovery, we get sick again very quickly.
When you say that, what did you say it was? A program of recovery?
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't that technically have to be a lifelong thing? That can't just be like, hey, this weekend we're going to recover and then it's normal. Like, that's a life.
That's what happened to me.
Recovery, right?
That's what happened to me. I did not maintain my spiritual solution. My recovery got put on the back burner
because of life and other things happening.
Because I didn't have a program of recovery.
It wasn't a priority.
It was not. So, Dennis and I were not happy. My husband is Dennis. I was, controlling. I was very controlling.
It had to be also challenging I'm not a parent. And to think about
kids are hard anyway.
These boys and 5 boys running around, and
But if I
seems really intense.
Well, of course, but if I had been in a great spiritual condition, if I had been where I was supposed to be, if I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, I would be guiding and not controlling. Like, I can think of specific examples as perfect example. I love little boys with long hair. I just do. Like, I love a little boy with a little top knot man bun. I think it's super cute. And
color hair doesn't matter. Does it have to be blonde?
No, it doesn't have to be blonde. But my kids wanted buzz cuts. They were like 12 years old. And I'm like, no buzz cuts here. Your hair will be long. I know, that sounds so fucked up. But this is, like, I was not guiding. I was controlling.
Got it.
My oldest son, Kelly, wanted to go to a different middle school. And I said, absolutely not. You're going to this middle school because I'm mom. I know best. So,
that seems fairly valid.
I didn't even listen to his reasons. And we guide. We don't govern. We guide. And I'm going to keep him out of
I think that's almost like a new form of parenting. Like, the things you're talking about now, can you even know if you didn't go through the things you did? Like, parents don't act like that.
But other people do it. But they do.
Growing up,
they do.
I was guided clearly. Like, I remember, like, looking back at my childhood and things I'd say to my dad, or I want to do this. You don't know what the fuck you want. You don't like that. Same thing though. I think it takes a very
woke parent.
And I don't even know if woke is the right word, because like woke is so. You know what I really think about it? I think of West County.
It's different. It's different because I can tell you, meet them where they're at, or you don't meet them at all. We talked about this a little bit before we went on.
I mean, your point of view on some of this stuff is very powerful in the fact that like you come from a very neutral place that I feel like you just are never going to know unless you've had like these experiences.
Well, and maybe that is so. I don't know, because I have lived both lives. I can tell you that this one is easier to live. But, I'm not saying that I was putting I would let my children put themselves into risky situations because I was guiding, not govern. I mean, it was a choice between Mark West Charter School or Rincon Valley Middle School. It's not like he wanted to go, to a middle school in downtown Oakland. Like, these choices were, minuscule. They were small choices that really didn't matter.
But most parents wouldn't let kids switch up schools, I feel like.
I don't know. I mean, I would have at least given him the opportunity to pitch his case.
And had the discussion around it.
Did it really matter to me if they had buzz cuts or long hair?
Probably, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like...
But in... Not defending or anything, but I feel like... And again, I don't know, I'm not a parent, but... as a parent, you're the leader. You know what's going to happen. This is what we're doing. This is what we're not doing, kind of.
That's true in certain specific situations, but, I mean, some of it just didn't matter, but I was so selfish and self-centered, dishonest. I was fearful that, it was going to be my way. But it was in everything I did. Like, I was so spiritually sick. I was living as an untreated alcoholic. Dry drunk, say it however you want.
What does dry drunk mean?
Dry drunk is somebody who's separated from alcohol, not drinking, but still all this is selfish, self-centered, mean, angry.
Not confronting all of the things that come with it.
With no program of recovery. Got it. It's recovery and sobriety are two entirely, completely different things. Completely different things. Like, I was sober, I absolutely was not recovered in any way. Another example, I joined the PTA.
Which is like a board of
class
parents,
mom.
right?
Yeah, in the classroom. I was a class mom. I volunteered. I did everything. And I did love to be with my kids. I did.
All the activities.
Field I coached,
trips.
all that. A lot of it, though, was to be better than them.
Than the other parents?
Yeah. Like, I wanted to be better than you. I wanted to do more than you. I wanted to look better than you. I wanted to be the better mom than you. And, that's a pretty sick way of thinking.
I mean, I feel like a lot of our society does a lot of this stuff, compares themselves. Oh, I want to be this. I want to look like this. I want to...
There was always like secondary gain for me. Like, always another reason. It was all about me. I was very selfish. And I'm not talking about... I was very self-centered. Not like I'm going to have that last quesadilla over there. But like,
I love how you went to quesadilla.
I know.
Love Mexican food.
Yeah. I do too. I like Indian food even better, though.
Really?
But my favorite is burgers.
Sorry to interrupt you.
I can talk about burgers and food.
Right up my alley. I was thinking about quesadillas too.
We'll have to do a whole nother session on food, nutrition. Anyway, so I was very self-centered and with my ideas and my opinions, and this is how it's going to be. I would make my husband wrong. I would, argue his point just to argue because I wanted to be right. At work, at this point, I'm working as a charge nurse in a level 2 trauma center. I mean, my opinion did really matter, but I still was overbearing. I was probably that mean charge nurse, and
What's mean? What do you mean by charge nurse?
oh, I just would, be like
Oh, if someone needs
super
something or something.
directive, like I would direct, I wouldn't guide. Again, I was like, I was very with my direction, the assignments, do this, do that, move there, go faster, I wasn't kind, nurturing,
gentle.
Yeah. So in 2007, I rolled my foot running. I was a runner, and I was cycling and running consistently. And I had a posterior tibial tendon injury that required surgical repair. So I came out with a prescription, Norco. Here. And so by 2010,
so this is 2 years now.
It's great when one of your best friends is a nurse practitioner, because you bullshit her into prescribing your drugs even after your surgery has long healed. We're very manipulative. Alcoholic and addict people were very manipulative. So, she was writing me prescriptions, and then I just started calling in prescriptions out of the emergency department where I worked at the time. This is 2010, and those were the days you still could call in prescriptions. You can't anymore because of people like me. You're welcome to all my medical professionals out there.
So when you remember this, was it
not even a thought?
Once you started do you remember when you took these pills, like it did something?
When I crossed the line?
Did it do something inside? Like, did it give you an euphoric feeling of this comfort that you used to have?
Yeah, exactly. But I don't actually know when I crossed the line. I can tell you by the time I stopped, I was taking like 18 to 24 Norco a day.
Wow.
And that was hard to keep up with.
And would you get a high from that? I mean, I'd think 24, you're inebriated.
No.
You're still just fully functional and moving around.
Yep.
And
Yep.
So what does it do? What's the drug? What's that? It's numbing something inside of you?
No, it was just, once again, it was like the obsession of the mind.
Of taking the pill and telling yourself it makes you feel better kind of thing?
Yeah, I feel better when I take this. I would think, God, my kids, my family should be glad I'm taking pills, because I'm a nicer person when I'm taking these pills. Like, whatever I needed to tell myself, like in retrospect, of course, now being separated from drugs and alcohol, well, I never drank, and I know it was only pills. My relapse was only pills. I'm like, when did I cross the line? I don't even know. It happens so insidiously. I don't even know. It was a lot of work.
So incredible that looking at the history of Norco and Vicodin and just the companies that are behind that and what's happened in our society. And
I know for a fact, I can tell you, if I didn't stop, I would have been into the oxy on the street, 100%.
And then that's like a form of heroin, right?
It's fentanyl. What they're selling now is fentanyl.
But Oxycontin, isn't that something?
They stamp them.
Try to do something to wean, or that's something else?
Yeah.
But it's a downer,
what
a
they
heavy,
did, it was it's an opiate. All of these are opiate-based medications. Fentanyl, morphine, Dilaudid, Oxy, Norco, Vicodin.
They're all derived
opiate-based,
from
right?
an opiate plant?
Yes. Or they make it. You want to know what happened? So
you're calling in prescriptions
I got
for yourself.
fired. Yeah, I'm calling in prescriptions. This is amazing. I'm calling in prescriptions. This is how kooky. So December 26th of 2010, I called in. I went to work.
This is a day after Christmas?
Yeah. The kids are home. Everybody's home. Should have been a nice holiday. And I went to work because you cannot call in a prescription from your house. Like, who does that? Who does that? So I went to work. I just went to my locker, pretended like I got something out of my locker. Went to the phone, called in a prescription for my husband this time. I switched around who they were for. And my husband was not a patient in the ER, obviously. The doctor whose name I used was not working in the department on that day. The pharmacist, I guess, had my name flagged, or somehow something caught his eye. It just wasn't right. So he called back to the ER and said, can I just validate this prescription? Which they did time to time. Well, obviously, cat's out of the bag. I had been found out. So I got invited to find alternative employment. They canned my ass, which they should have done.
Well, what was that process like? You called it in and you're expecting that now you'll just go pick it up from the pharmacy?
Oh, my friend at that time, who was not my friend after this day, called and said, what is happening? What
just out of the blue?
are you doing? She
like
took
that?
the call from the pharmacy. She was working.
And so here you are calling your prescription.
The cat is out of the bag, all over work.
This is like at the time it had to be like a deer in headlights, right?
Totally.
She just gets on the phone. Like, what
Yeah.
do you panic? Do you
Sure.
like...
And, so she was like, what is happening? What are you doing? I had to tell the pharmacist that it wasn't a good prescription because it's not. What's happening? I said, I'll talk to you later. And I'm like, shit, what am I going to do now?
I need to get the fuck out of here.
Well, I was on my way to pick it up. Like, I was no longer in work. So, but, chatter started at work. And so I was invited not to return there. And then they did the fact finding. It's a process to get fired, but I did. And I'm like, great, fuck you. Get another job. Fuck you guys.
Right.
You guys are fucked anyway.
Fuck all you people.
Fuck all y'alls. And I don't need you. The doctor would have said, if I had just asked the doctor, he probably would have said yes anyway. So, fuck you. Just, I'll get another job, which I did. So, got another job. And of course, my story follows me, but you cannot not hire somebody just based on a story. So I do get hired, and I know the manager.
You're still in medical at this point?
Yeah, I'm still a nurse.
Oh, this is a different hospital?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I just got another job. My story follows me. Now it's like, so they did turn me over to the Board of Registered Nursing, who, it's very difficult to deal with the Board of Registered Nursing. They take their job very seriously. Their job is to keep the people of California safe from unsafe nursing, is what their job is. And I certainly was unsafe. So they take their job very seriously. They, in turn, had turned me over to the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office. Appropriately, they picked up my case. And this is like October, late September 2011. It took all of that time. So government agencies don't move very quickly.
Yeah.
So it took that long for the nursing board to catch up with me. I got a letter in the mail, and they wanted to meet with me. In the meanwhile, they sent a marshal, U.S. Marshal. Did you know that we had U.S. Marshals here around? We do, and they showed up at my door. My youngest son, Terry, opened the door. He was like 12, and they asked, where's your mom? I was taking a nap in the middle of the day, Not great look. So anyway, I told them that they were crazy, that they had the wrong girl, that I had actually not done anything wrong, that I was sober for these 22 years. Because mind you, these were all prescribed, even if I
Right.
prescribed them for myself.
Right.
And even if I was taking like, 10 times that recommended amount, in my brain,
You're justifying it.
I am. It was exactly that, the justification. So anyway, by now my family knew that something was amiss.
I wonder why
So
they send the marshal. Like, wouldn't that be a sheriff or
because
something?
they were investigating for the BRN.
Got it. Which is a government agency.
So anyway, that was pleasant. And so I got a letter from the district attorney.
How's like
What's
I don't wanna
happening
get
in my
too-
head?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like how's Dennis handling
Right.
all this? Like how's the
So
functioning of the family?
yeah, bad. I was just gonna. That was my next thing. So, it started the whole gig started to break down, and Dennis now knew something was wrong.
So he hadn't even known. That's incredible that you can hide things like that. We just go get
He
into
knew I
our.
was taking Norco because I had since gone to see a pain doctor, and I fabricated all these injuries
But
so I
it's-
could go to this doctor and
but
that
it's
doctor. But
prescribed to you and
he
stuff.
didn't know, right? He had no idea how deep I was. He knew that I was unwell emotionally. Like, dude, anybody would know that. So I had a court date. I had BRN, up my butt, really. And so I'm driving home. I'm on 101, and my son Kelly calls me. He's like 18 at that time. And he goes, Mom, I know what's happening with you. You either need to get out or you need to get help.
Wow.
And I was like, Kelly, fuck you too. And I hung up. I just tossed my phone on the seat, and I was driving north on 101. I pulled over at College Avenue, and I just pulled over into that little gas station. And I was like, shit, game's up. Game's up. I had that one moment of clarity, and I knew
After that phone call?
right then. It was like the window opened and like fresh air came in, man.
Was that the same as
a spiritual awakening
the
or
feeling you
a
had
moment of clarity?
when you were able to clear yourself from the heroin? Like when you say that moment of clarity,
No,
that's
was much more intense because I had more to lose at this time.
and so many more people relying on you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I could clearly see in reverse what had happened in the past 22 years, really. There was no recovery. There was no program of spiritual maintenance. There was nothing. There was nothing in me left over from where I had gotten sober the first time, except for the knowledge that I had been separated from drugs and alcohol and how much better my life had become. So I drove home. I think either Dennis was home or he came home soon after. I got all my stash and we're so stupid. Like, we're so crazy. I had like pills stashed everywhere in case somebody would find my stuff. I don't even know. I got everything out that I knew I had. I turned it over. I said I need to get help. And that was October 2nd, 2012. So my new sobriety date is October 3rd, 2012. And I jumped right back into that spiritual solution. I found those group of people.
The same ones?
Well, I had originally found this group of people in San Francisco. This was up here in Sonoma County. And so
it's amazing that there's just people there to help
everywhere,
wherever you go.
Everywhere.
Like everybody wants to focus on what's happening and the negative and this and that. And it's like the the positive of humanity is so amazing, to make yourself available to people who need help.
Okay, so yes, but the even more amazing part is to be part of that movement.
Right.
To be able to be part of that movement. So I found a woman who helped guide me through my spiritual recovery, and I turned my license over. By this time, I think it was November 12th, I had surrendered my license. I agreed to a surrender for a year to the BRN to get treatment for drug and alcohol. And with Sonoma County, I had Rene Chateau, who I love, Judge Rene Chateau. He was so kind and understanding, and I was just like, here's me,
What's interesting
basically
is you say he's very like understanding, but he was a Marine.
Yes.
He was a Marine commander.
Right.
Very, very
yes.
intense. But I had it's funny you brought his name up, but I had a situation with him that I thought was going to go terribly wrong. But
you were the real deal, and you were honest, and he can see.
I think that was one of the biggest things, is like everybody was so fearful of him as a judge because he followed the law very, very tightly.
Mm-hmm.
But if something was happening to you that was unlawful and there wasn't jurisdiction to charge you or hold you accountable for that, he walked a very fine line with the law and was like, you can't charge this person for this when this didn't occur.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, kind of in the same way, he was like, you did do this. I had 6 felony charges.
For calling in all these prescriptions and doing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Because when you pick up a prescription that's not yours, you're actually robbing the store.
Right.
So
of their allotment or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So he allowed me to do drug court, which I love, from the moment I stepped into drug. By this time, so this was in December. So October, I was separated from drugs. I turned my license in. Didn't care if I ever got it back, because I'm so grateful that I don't have to live that hustle anymore. I'm so glad I have the clarity of mind to see that I needed help. I could see that I needed a spiritual solution, and that there was one available to me. So I walked into drug court, and I'm like, I learned many things there. Like, I can make a pipe out of anything that you hand to me, because this is the life of the people that I was in drug court with. And, I don't know. I know for sure there's 3 of us that are still sober and recovered from that class. I still see them around, and we always have that bond. But I loved every single minute of it, because I was in that world. I was in the world of spiritual maintenance and recovery from drugs and alcohol. So, very grateful to Sonoma County for allowing me to do that. I finished that. All of my charges were reduced and dismissed. They don't show up anywhere on my record. And BRN was like, here you go. Here's your license. 3 years of probation, but that was easy because, again, real deal. I don't care. I'll pee in a cup anytime you want.
Right.
Who cares? I'll pee in this cup right now if you want me to. But, my life
nothing to hide
since then,
when you're
exactly.
Sober.
Exactly.
No problem. Where do
No
I need
problem.
to be? You're proud of it also.
Well, and that's why I'm so out about my sobriety, my recovery, is because pretty proud. And I do see that I've been relieved of the obsession of drugs and alcohol 2 times. Many people end up 6 feet under. Many people die. Was
alcohol an issue too? Just came with drugs, or you just say drugs and alcohol?
Oh, no, I've drank. Well, I haven't drank since 1990, but yeah, I was absolutely.
I feel like alcohol has been so patented as like part of our lifestyle as Americans. You know, you look
Yes,
back to
but
like the 1800s and just the heavy consumption, and then, you know, the 20s and the 30s and the 40s, and my father's parents, how heavy alcohol was in communication and hanging out. And it was like, it's just been pushed into part of our society. Like, think about, what are we doing this weekend? Let's go out to the bar. And it's
Yes,
this
but people
fucking stronghold.
No, it is, but people who are not alcoholic don't worry or wonder if they're alcoholic.
Right.
So, like you, I bet any money if we went out for a quesadilla, I'm going to say it again. If we went out for a quesadilla right now, you could order a beer, and if you're too full from the big quesadilla that you ate, you could just leave part of your beer there.
For sure.
Absolutely. Well, it wasn't like that for me or anybody else who identifies as an alcoholic, because it's just not like that. And again, you know, before we went on, you and I and Owen, we had a discussion about the lack of the power of choice. Like, I never had choice whether or not I was going to drink or do drugs, or how much I was going to drink, or how much I was going to use once I started. Or, you know, I quit every day. Even, you know, in 2010, I quit every night. I would go to bed thinking, shit, I'm so glad that's over. Tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to, you know, this is not sustainable. I know I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is not healthy. This is not good. The next day I wake up without even a thought. Like, there was no thought, no power of choice. It's hard. I know you're watching me say these words, and unless you understand, unless you get it, you know, if you know, you know, but so hard to understand if you haven't experienced that loss of power of choice. You know, all the time now, I work emergency medicine, and I have the honor of taking care of, you know, people suffering from, we call it alcohol misuse disorder now. It's no longer alcoholism, it's alcohol misuse disorder.
That's interesting.
But it is actually a diagnosis. It has its own ICD code and everything. But people come in and they either want detox, or, you know, they are in withdrawal, or they've had some situation. They were found on the street, passed out. And the good passerby, they always call, leave the guy asleep. Like, leave the guy asleep. Don't call just because you see somebody passed out on the sidewalk. You know what I mean? Anyway, different story. They come in and I'm like, hey, do you want to get sober? And if they say no, I'm like, got it. We'll get you patched up and get you back out as soon as we can. The doctor comes in and says, just don't drink. You have to just like wake up every day and make a decision not to drink, because it's going to kill you. You just have to decide not to drink. Just don't do it. Doctor walks out of the room, and I look at my new friend and I'm like, if only it was that easy, right? And then I'll come out and say, hey, you know, I identify as recovered. I've been where you're at. I get it. You know, the only thing that makes us different from anybody else who's not an alcoholic is that we have no power of choice. We cannot choose whether or not we're going to drink or use today. Without a spiritual solution and a power greater than ourselves, we are fucked. Capital F.
That's crazy.
And so they'll look at me and be like,
she knows.
Who are you? Yeah. Yep. So, you know, I'm really grateful I get to do that, and who knows, you know, and I'll discuss this spiritual solution, and I'll, you know, if they're interested, I'll tell them how I got sober and stayed sober.
Does this happen a lot? Do they come in a lot?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. I would say...
Is it mainly like, is it a lot of homeless?
Some people are domestically challenged.
Is that homeless?
Yeah. Some people are... but some people... I had a gal just the other day, and she was like... she came in for stomach pain. She just had pain and no interest in getting sober. She was like totally functional, but had been through, multiple visits for alcohol-related issues. Doesn't
to like her
to the
organs
ER
and stuff
yes,
like that, like
exactly.
to her body.
But she, we just had a great time together, and she totally got that I got it. And we ended up talking mostly about this great sweater that she had, super expensive sweater. She had a great job, had a house, kids. It's like not everybody. We come in all alcoholics and addicts.
But she doesn't want to get better.
She doesn't want to get sober. I'm like, hey, we're here when you're ready.
Why would you not want that though? When you have all these issues that are bringing you in, like in a family and
because she has not been presented with the solution.
Got it. With a viable solution.
Right. She actually had, but didn't understand it. And it takes what it takes, man. You have to open your mind enough to be open to a spiritual solution. Like, something you can't see or touch, a power outside of yourself. What does that even mean? Like, it's just total on faith.
For sure. But look what faith does. Faith. Like, faith almost like gives you supernatural powers. You do things based on faith. You make decisions based on faith.
Indeed.
Make life choices based on faith.
It's the trust in something you don't understand, like the lights.
Right.
Like, I don't get it, how they work.
Right.
Do you? Like I don't get how it works. It's like...
Electricity in general, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But everything around us is hard. The cameras, the microphones.
I know, like, look at what we're doing. And
all
it's like,
it.
Right. So, I get to do that at work, and I get to meet people like you, and, and fitness, and to tie it up, like, fitness is such a...
well, I feel like it's healing also.
It's a huge part of my mental health, because part of my solution is, ridding myself of selfish, self-centered, dishonest, and fearful. And so I think, the intensity in which I use my body and the movements, the intensity of the movements and that, the high aerobic capacity, in a lot of ways is very meditative to me. I have a lot of friends who practice real meditation. I'm not great at it. I do try. Part of my spiritual solution is listening, for guidance from a will other than mine. My will is very selfish and self-centered. And I do need to listen to understand my place in the world, and I think the intensity of the movements helps open my mind to that. But also, I'm just crazy as a fucking crackpot, and I can get out there really fast if I'm not in great spiritual condition. If I don't exercise, I just get like in my head, and oh, he doesn't like me, or she doesn't like me, or am I performing enough at work, or am I doing enough over here, or whatever, and I can just drive myself crazy. But I think, moving, staying physically healthy, spiritually healthy, I think I got it dialed.
That's an amazing accomplishment. To have what you just said dialed, like when you have control over all of those things. It's
not having control. It's actually giving up your control and being reliant upon a power outside of yourself. I know. I wish I could talk. If anybody's super interested, please, DM me, contact me. But yeah, it's giving up control. It's giving up your will. It's giving up your control. I have no control over anything in my life. Nothing at all. But if I ask for guidance from a power outside of myself, now I have, I have the will of the universe and goodness, and a new power flows in that I can clearly see my place, my actions. It's almost like my program of recovery is not a getting. I don't get strength. I don't get control. I don't learn how to control. I give up parts of myself so I can receive guidance from whatever you want to call it. I think you said spirit of the universe, or power greater than myself, higher power, God, whatever. Not a religious God. I'm like the least religious person. So I want to talk about, okay, so we talked about, go back. I always wanted to be Jewish.
What spawned that? Like, how did that, what was it about
Judaism?
Judaism
because I did not believe in the miracles, although Judaism has miracles, of course, but with the more...
Like Moses spreading the Red Sea?
Yeah, that.
It's pretty miraculous.
That's pretty miraculous. But they always had more, like, I think Judaism is like the more scientific. Like Judaism is like, Apple to Catholicism's HP. You know what I mean? Like there's a more scientific bent. They're more willing to believe in like a scientific explanation.
So just because of that, you were highly interested?
I was interested because I did not believe that Jesus was the Son of God. I believed that Jesus was a cool dude. He had, great stuff to say. I saw Catholicism as, you have to believe this. You have to do this. You have to have these values and, go to church and all this stuff.
So you didn't believe we were all children then of God?
Not at that not
point.
Of that, not of a religious God. Not of a religious God. It wasn't presented to me like that. Growing up Catholic is presented as you are children of the Jesus God.
You're like a soldier.
Yeah, the Jesus God. I didn't believe in the Jesus God.
They make Jesus the new God. So that's who the Catholics worship.
Yeah. And Christians in general.
Right.
Christians in general. But in Judah, to be Jewish, you get to kind of choose. Like you can be Reformed, you can be super laid back, or you can be, Orthodox, you can be all of these different levels. And so I liked that, number one, because it was more of a like personal to you.
Where did this become like apparent to you? Where are you learning about this?
I don't know. I wanted to be Jewish from the time I was super young. I must have seen it on TV or heard about it, or maybe had a friend somewhere that was Jewish. But in nursing school, one of my best friends in nursing school was married to a rabbi. They were Hasidic. And so she was a convert. Actually, she converted to become Jewish and then married a Hasidic rabbi. So I don't know how all that works. But I loved being around her. I loved being around him and their family. I didn't touch ever anything in their house because they had all like different dishes and stuff like that. But I just loved her attitude, her spirit, and what they believed in. So
were they
I
open
actually
to you about it?
Yeah. I actually tried to convert, and it's hard to be a good Jew. So before you convert, they have to try to talk you out of it a certain number of times. So I'm like, yeah, screw it. That's really hard, but I'll just carry with me these principles and these like basic spiritual principles. So anyway, fast forward. My son, Sean, number 3, this is like 2 years ago, decides he wants to do a 23andMe because I was adopted.
Genealogy.
Because he wanted to make sure that he wasn't Pomo and missing his money. It's like so stupid. He did it as a joke. That was his reasoning. I think he was kind of curious because we don't really know.
Yeah.
We don't really know. He came out to be 25% Ashkenazi.
Wow.
So my husband's parents were born like literally on the boat coming here from Ireland.
Wow.
The only way he could be 25% Ashkenazi Jew is if I was 50%. So the question is it nature or nurture?
I'm going to go with nature.
Well, I don't know. I mean...
Because, you know, like...
but people are born Jewish all the time and leave that faith.
For sure. But, you know, like it's very interesting. Sometimes I have a hard time even talking on things I don't know enough about because I don't want to just sound terribly stupid. You know, but like when you look at you know, Jewish culture, like, isn't it only passed down through a daughter?
Yes, it's the mother.
Yeah, so you have to continue, like, if you're Jewish and you have 2 children, it's ending with you.
If you have 2 boys.
2 boys, which is really ironic.
To make things even...
Which is ironic and confusing at the same time. So why are you already limiting how you can be Jewish? Like, why can't your family, if you're both 100% Jewish, but you have 2 boys that are both 100% Jewish, it can't be passed? Like, it's just, religion law is just so very interesting to begin with. But when I say nature, you were born Jewish. Like, your blood is Jewish blood. You're part of the chosen tribe. Something that has to be deeper than you just... Who just is like, oh, I don't believe in baby Jesus. Oh, I'll be Jewish. No, I feel like there was something deeper calling you than that.
Well, but I mean, I do think that people convert all the time. Maybe not all the time. I don't know.
But they're still not chosen ones. They're not bloodline Jews. That's like someone breeding with a pit bull.
The other clincher to this whole story is that
we're all Jewish here, by the way.
You are?
I'm Jewish. Alex is Jewish. Owen's Jewish.
My people. Actually,
that's why you're so comfortable in here.
I did find out
we're by bloodline, just so we can make that clear. We are part of the chosen people.
Unlike me, because actually, hold on, I did find out that my birth mother, this came to me, my half Jewish nature came to me by the father. So I'm really not Jewish, but it's interesting that the DNA is there because it showed up. I have not done 23andMe. So I know my birth mother was actually born of Irish parents as well. Interesting, though. It's still nature or nurture.
Yeah. You never had throughout any of this, there was no interest in knowing like your birth parents or...
No, I did find her... She's from San Diego. She was 18 when I was born. She had already had one baby before me. She had one soon after I was born. Her father took that older boy away from her, put her on a bus from San Diego, and I was born in an orphanage in San Francisco.
Wow.
So
he sent her to San Francisco, basically?
Yeah, to have the baby. Yeah. So, and then I ended up with my parents.
That's amazing.
The birth father was a guy who had denied having taken any action. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Nobody will know. I will never know.
Well, how did that do for number 3 when he found like...
Did
that interest you more than it interested him? Even though he's the one that got the test?
Oh, yeah. He was like,
He's like, fuck it, I'm not native.
How about this?
It.
I know I don't get any money for being Jewish, do I? So stupid. That's Sean. Oh God. But so now every time I see, like, I went to Brooklyn last year and I went to Williamsburg, where it's the highest concentration of Hasidic families and people. It was super interesting. I definitely was the outsider. Here I am walking around with my, my curly hair out and just little shorts kind of thing,
I've always been fascinated with Judaism as well, and it's interesting because it's not from anyone making me interested in it, and it wasn't, if like growing up we weren't, Jewishism wasn't pushed on us, we really weren't taught anything about Judaism, which I wish we would have known more about. But
did you have a bar mitzvah?
No, nothing like that.
Sean did want to know if it was too late now to have a bar mitzvah because he wanted to get all the money that people give you when he had a bar mitzvah.
But what really always interested me is, like, we'd go to reggae festivals and stuff like that, and I just didn't understand why there's all these white people and like full dreads and like so much like so into reggae and the music, and like, but they like all had their like Star of David and their hardcore beliefs, and
it was like cultural appropriation.
And I was just like so, and then like watching them all pray on the wall and seeing like massive amounts of them like dancing and like getting excited together and just so much to understand, and
dude, life's a trip.
I never got any of these answers, by the way, still. But like in reggae festivals, there's groves of them. Groves of like, they're obviously hardcore Jewish because they live like this Judas life and everything they do is Star of David, but they're like heavy into this reggae lifestyle, and it was always just so fascinating to me. And then I'm meeting, like, as I'm getting older, I'm you start going places and you'd be like, yeah, I'm Jewish, and they're like, wait, you're my brother? Like some of them, and you're like, we're fucking maybe. Blood brothers. Like, you're a chosen one, just like I am. Like some of them in business and stuff like that look at things like this. They want to do business with other Jews. You know what I mean? You've already been selected. Yeah. You've already been chosen outside of the rest of your fucking class for us to do things together.
It's kind of racist, actually.
What is the word for that? Not racist, but like religious race? Is that it? It's just fascinating.
Yeah.
But
life's a trip, man. Life's a trip.
Religion
People
is
a trip. Yep.
Fucking extremists.
Yeah. For sure.
Like the Catholic.
Dude.
This shit, like again, my father was raised Catholic and I don't know enough about it, but then it's just heavy. Like the things that people do in the name of God has just been absolutely horrific on mankind and other
that's
clans.
Why,
there was no God and Jesus and none of this shit at one time. We were all cavemen. There was no religion.
Oh, I bet there was some kind. I know. No.
When we were dragging our women around by their hair and had our billy clubs like those old cartoons, and couldn't even have languages, like
it was a social belief.
That happened somewhere. Maybe again, we're just two people talking here, but someone fucking made this shit up somewhere along the lines, or Jesus just appeared one day. Like what was happening before then? Like the Son of God came at 1,000 fucking whatever you want to call it, and then there was nothing before, and there's never been anything after. It's very hard to wrap your head around.
Okay, here's what I want to know. So Jesus comes down to save the people. Okay, we're pretty fucked up right now. Like, we could use a Jesus person type to save us right now.
Well, we always can.
Why?
That's the problem.
Yeah, but it seems like we're really fucked up right now. Like,
You don't
the
think we were
planet's
really
dying.
fucked up when we crucified Jesus?
No, but
And the way the Romans acted and looked at him, and
okay, yeah, but
all the wars
did
everywhere.
they have global warming?
I mean, it was.
Did they have?
It was safer then. Or I mean, it's safer now than it was then.
I don't know. They didn't have Donald Trump.
I tell people this all the time. For us as Americans, this is the easiest. This is the easiest and the safest time to ever have lived. If you look,
completely disagree.
dude, first of all, no other time, any point in our past could you
Yes.
deal the drugs you do? Can you use the drugs you do? Can you get away with the things that happen?
Yes, true. Travel, global travel, cooking dinner. It's totally easy for me right now to
you're
get
wealthy,
dinner for my.
you can
for
go
my,
do whatever you want. You can
That's
buy
true.
whatever you want.
That's true, but
It is easier for anyone right now in the United States to make money, to be something of yourself, to change your life. It doesn't get any easier than it is right now.
But I think that in days past, in generations past, there wasn't like you didn't have to like have that come up. You didn't have to make that kind of money. You didn't have to like you had your piece of land, say, or you had your job. Things were like pretty simple. We didn't have
It's very hard.
I
You
don't
say
know,
you
but
say
they-
simple,
I
but
don't-
trying to live off the land and
but
not having a
even
fridge.
that.
and-
Let's take 1950. Let's just take a family in 1950. Dad went to work.
If he came back from the war,
Okay, let's just say he did.
he's beyond fucked. Mentally destroyed, doesn't know how to love you, doesn't know how to share,
Well,
doesn't know
not
how to...
everybody was like that.
But a lot of them were. Like, I can look at a lot of my peers and I can tell that they were not physically loved or touched or had affection with their parents. Very obvious.
But now you're talking about social norms and not necessarily ease of life. That's just how it was. Like, my parents, racist as shit. But I can't say, it would be wrong for me. It would be very wrong. I would never even, I don't hold those values. I don't. But it was how they were raised. It was and it wasn't in their day, in their generation, they didn't break out. They did do what my parents hoped I would do, which is to keep their own values, like we talked about at the very beginning. Like, I didn't keep their values. They did. And so that was normal for them. I can't, my mom died about 4 years ago. She had dementia. And one of the things that left her along the way was her social filter. Like, I remember we hired a caretaker and she walked into the room and my mother said, "Oh my, well, aren't you just a very large woman?" I'm like, "Mom, you can't say that." And I hired Fijians and they were lovely people. But if you did not look and talk like my mom, then you were stealing her knives. And actually, after my mom died, I found all of her knives in a box stuck way back in the closet. But it was distressful for me, but that's how she was raised.
But also, like, she was raised to not see these type of people. I don't think we'd act the same now because they're everywhere. Like, everything's so diverse.
They were there in San Francisco.
But it wasn't as accepted. There was definitely racial
That's what I'm saying.
divide. There's not that racial divide.
That's what I'm saying. That's kind of what I'm saying, is that it was normal for them. So, it was just devastating for me to hear those words come out of my mom. But yet I had to acknowledge that that's how she grew up.
Right.
So, I think of conversely, I think of my son Terry, who in high school, he was like a junior, and there was a big controversy at his high school about, I don't know, one of the kids, it was a trans kid in school, and I'm like, what bathroom? what bathroom does he use? Like, I knew enough then to use he pronouns, you know? And he looked at me like I had like a horn coming out of my forehead, like, duh, the boys. Like, it was so accepted to him. It wasn't like, oh, well, he, you know, now that she's a he. It was like just not even an issue.
Well, even if you were a she and a he back then, you'd have to use the girls' bathroom. It wasn't like accepted.
Well, he's only 22. So this was like, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, this shit's changed a lot.
This is what I'm saying. Like,
year,
for Terry,
2
like,
years.
You know, his friends, you know, he has friends of color. He's got whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's just different for him.
Yeah, none of this matters anymore to us, at least. For me and my peers here in Santa Rosa, there's none of this racial divide. There's none of this racism. When I go to Oakland and we're like, the world in the United States makes this big issue, and I'm not downplaying it, and it definitely exists in other areas, but, you know, we're lucky enough on the West Coast to be very, very blended.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, I think, so have you ever seen... And
it wasn't like that in the 80s. And I would have not had the opportunities. No. I would be in prison right now. I mean, 10 years, like when I caught my case, I was fighting for my freedom, and that was only 11 years ago. Like, none of this would be a possibility. Like, this is the greatest time to live. You can do whatever you want.
No, I see your point.
You get a slap on the wrist. You can go out there and do the most fucked up shit. You can go murder someone, and there's a chance you don't go away for life. I mean, I think that's where I disagree. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that I take exception to the fact that we're a softer system.
Yeah. And I don't know if that maybe we should choose maybe we should agree to use a different
Women
word
can make
than easy.
Women can make insane money having a fucking OnlyFans website.
Yeah.
That did not exist.
Yeah.
In the 80s and the 70s, and women were
lots of nurses are doing it.
And all this shit, and
lots of nurses have OnlyFans.
That's a second income now that they never had before.
It was so funny that my husband Dennis and I were talking about OnlyFans because I was like, "Hey, this is before I launched my Instagram, my Instagram fitness page," and we were just, you know, having a chat at the kitchen table. It was just the two of us, and I'm like, "Hey, you know, this OnlyFans, I don't know much about it. Maybe I should like look into it and." Like launch an OnlyFans, but like fitness. Like, this is what I'm doing for fitness, kind of like what I am doing on my Instagram page. And so Dennis was like, well, I don't know much about it. Maybe we should look into it. And I said, yeah, maybe, you know, we could do it together.
This is such a white topic at the dinner table.
Okay. So I guess it was Kevin or Kelly, or maybe they came in together. And he's like, what are you guys talking about? And I said, oh, Dad and I are going to start an OnlyFans account. And they were like horrified. And like, just, I was like, don't ever say that again. You know, it was just pretty funny. But I didn't mean it in that way.
I just feel like, you know, me and Owen have this conversation a lot where I'm like, you know, if you can do what you want to do, you're free. That's how I feel. Like, if you get up every day and you get the choice of, oh, I'm going to go to my gym class, then I'm going to go to the job that I love doing. That's freedom. Like, that freedom has not existed.
Yes, it has.
In our system for very long.
If you have spiritual freedom that I have.
But I think that's new. Like, if you look back at like your parents and look at the spiritualness, like when I look back on parents and grandparents and like, dude, spiritualism was fucking rules and law and not like
that's
today's
religion.
Spiritualism.
And spiritualism and religion are entirely two different things. And completely two different things. And, you know, religion does have a spiritual component because you do have faith in something that you can't believe and all that. But, you I think that the spiritual solution that I have found has been around for a really long time. And, people who have less than ideal situations, just regarding even sobriety, if we want to go back to that, I have met people that have gotten sober and stayed sober who live under a bridge. Like, they have found the spiritual solution, and you take it with you. You practice these spiritual principles in all of your affairs, and So I think people have been free to be happy. I know what you're saying. I understand what you're saying about life being easy now.
I don't mean it is easy. I think it's easier.
It's more free. It's more free.
Like, if you look at the 20s and the 30s and just the United States was just forming, and you watch like history, and it's just intense, like very, very intense jobs. So many of the stuff that I do and peers do, and it wasn't even an option then. It was just being a frontiersman and finding the West Coast and walking by foot and fighting Indians, and just
that happened
not having a fridge
before 1920.
I know. I'm just keep going further and further back. I'm like snowballing.
Formed way before 1920.
It's so funny that we brought this up. Like,
don't go to Lance for historical.
I'm not one to talk about, because every day, I'm not exaggerating, all I think about is like how grateful I am that I live now.
Totally.
And everything that I've done would not be allowed even 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was looked at as a black light. I couldn't share anything. We talked about this early. I would always be embarrassed of what I did. I lied about my profession. It's a rough life to live. It takes its toll on you. And now you can tell people, I've got an OnlyFans. I show my fucking body to anyone who wants to view it. Here's my card. Would you like to be a member?
Yeah.
You can do that.
Right.
Hey, I grow weed. You want to fucking smoke? You want to buy an ounce? I'm not going to get arrested in my front door for selling you weed illegally. Like, it's just life is so much easier now in my profession than it was 10 years ago.
What's truly amazing is that here we are, met at a gym, really liked each other from the beginning, had a lot of commonalities, but here we are on a podcast, completely sober, almost 11 years.
Inebriated an hour ago.
So, but I mean, look how much we have in common.
I don't think this would have happened, MaryAnn, 10 years ago.
So, and you absolutely. I'm so grateful that I also am so grateful. I'm just so grateful that, I'm just so grateful every day.
And I think that it's going to get harder. Like, seeing what's happening in the world and in the turmoil, and what you're talking about with global warming, and everybody wanting to, like, their opinions are like, I need to beat my fucking opinion into you. We can't just sit here.
This was never in my whole lifetime. 63 years, I have never, of course, I was never as politically aware or involved since heading into the 2016 election. First of all, I have to say that. Shamefully, I'll admit.
I mean, I feel like my parents and everybody, like, I haven't, just people in general.
Yeah, but that was a rough go for me. But what was I going to say with that? Shit, I lost myself. Sorry.
I just feel like there's this difference now. Like, age doesn't matter. Things don't matter. Occupation doesn't matter.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
So, politically aware coming into the 2016 election, because I think what really sparked my interest.
2016 was Obama running for the first time? I'm sorry.
No,
Second
2020 time? Election.
Okay.
No, that was he who should not be mentioned.
2016 was, who was that? That was Trump and
Hillary.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I totally forgot about her.
Yeah, well, I think anyway. Anyway, coming into that election, I had never seen, and going forward that whole term, that whole 4 year from, 2016 to 2020, I have never in my whole entire lifetime seen the country so divided.
Yeah.
And it's a distressing to me. Never. Like, I don't give a shit if you're Republican or Democrat. Just don't act like that guy. Like, seriously, I mean, sorry to bring politics. Cut this out, Owen, if you want. But I'm just saying, it was intolerable to me. It was unthinkable to me. It caused me great distress. Dennis and I both had a really hard time with the actions, the opinions.
I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, I mean...
It's not... whenever you think about somebody in this position and how they conduct themselves and act and say and the things that you'd see, you would never think like this is a world power, potentially the strongest. You just would never think
that they would act
or
like
somebody. And again, I'm not picking any kind of signs, but somebody with his past and like did the derogatory things that he's done could be a president. Like you always just thought like this man is somebody very powerful and real fucking by the lines, and up until that point, we didn't know enough of like things blurring over. But then at the same time, we're in a time where so much more shit is public than it's ever been before.
Yeah. Yes, and you bring up a good point, because how do we actually know? Well, look at, John F. Kennedy is
anything
one of the
you
most...
say is available forever. Any word you say, any joke that's taken out of context. And like some of the stuff we hear now after the fact, like what our presidents did and what they're involved in, and now we're here like potentially the feds are the one that started the crack epidemic and through trying to raise money
conspiracies,
it's just snowballing and fucking just vomiting from our core, like we have like this bad karma. And now our world's fucking, now we're talking about nuclear war and attacking other countries, and we're not, now we got to worry about, dude, when China does their fucking shit on TV with their million-man marches and parades down the streets with all their weaponry and shit, like how the fuck come we can't do that? I want to see fucking...
Well, why would we want to, though?
Because, like, that's fucking... We're America. Like, you're allowing all these other countries to, like... Like, it's scary looking at that shit. And then me and my homies are smoking weed and we're watching a fight and we're like, fuck, dude, you see those goddamn Chinese with their fucking mega war powers and their warheads? Like, dude, can we get a fucking march with, like, all our soldiers and show our fucking war power? I'm just saying, it's like... It's just crazy. It is a crazy time. There's fucking cameras everywhere. You don't even, like, there's lies being spread in manipulation, and it's more people than we've ever had. There's more dark entities than ever before. Here's the problem. As millions and millions and millions of people are born, now you have higher chances of more crime, bad people, bad seeds, and this is kind of what I think is happening. It's like, if there's only 3 people, really good chance bad shit doesn't happen. One of these 3 has to be a bad seed. Now you've got 5 billion poor parents, poor parenting, no affection, no love. Gangs will take you in. Oh, we love you. All you got to do is blast this fucking dude who doesn't look like you. Blast these fucking people because they're... Look at Santa Rosa. The stabbings and the shootings of 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds. Dude, when I was 13, all I could think about was Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Now they're thinking about fucking where they're going to get a weapon and make the homies proud. I mean, it's just... It's a snowball. Like, you can be at the wrong place at the wrong time and have terrible things happen. Mass shootings. I mean... It's getting worse. Right now, it's not going to get ever any better, unfortunately. That's why I feel like everybody has to fucking live in the present.
It was the best time.
It is. Because it's only going to get harder. It's not going to get easier. Now we have AI taking over. Now we have fucking
that's
TikTok
really interesting,
and all this computer shit. Now people are going to be without jobs really soon. You got ChatGPT writing fucking SOPs and all this crazy shit. People are fucked. Right now,
when the computer started like in the 60s and 70s, everybody thought that was the end. It didn't turn out like that.
Well, they're just 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years late. It's turning into that though now.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be huge. And I remember 2000, year
Yeah, but it's
2K.
different now, MaryAnn. When you have all of the tech CEOs coming out and be like, we have a problem. We started something and it's out of our control now and it's developed its own way of thinking. We've built it so smart that now it's fucking...
I'm sorry, I can't let you do that, Dave.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fucking real.
Is that the guy's name, Dave?
So that's why I'm just living in the present, and right now is the best time.
Yeah, for sure.
You can go get fucking water, any food you want, healthcare. There's people here to help you with all your fucking problems. There's people who will help you recover and put their life aside so that they can help you. That's unbelievable to me.
Yes. People will help you set up at a CrossFit box. I think people listening, if you're local, you should come out and hang with Lance and I
mean, it doesn't matter. Like, the people that come to our class, you can't even do any of the shit, and they're just like, they're stepping up. Like, they're doing whatever their fucking mobility differences allow them to do.
So I'm doing the level 1 CrossFit coaching clinic on Saturday.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And so once that happens and I get
certified,
my certificate, we are interested in doing a master's program.
Like, look at how easy it is nowadays.
That's what we were talking about.
2023, you can go get some fucking certified on a Saturday with 1 hour, pay your $179, you're certified.
Well, it's 2 days, $1,200.
I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean? Like, try getting fucking certified in the 40s. Ain't happening with a fucking Friday and Saturday with Hank over here.
They didn't have certification back in the 40s.
Another point. They didn't even have CrossFit.
Oh, they had Army calisthenics. Recently, I've seen a bunch of stuff come through on Instagram.
The
like
shit PE.
Photos of like gyms in the 60s or like women's gyms in the 60s.
What about, how about just a lot?
PE, yeah.
Yeah, PE in general. Yeah. You look at every single one of those fucking boys, you're like, fuck, I wish I looked like that now. Like, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
They're doing pull-ups and push-ups, and even I remember in my high school, like, I don't think they do that shit anymore, do they? Making you run miles.
PE? Do they have PE?
Degrading you if you can't hit a 10-minute.
Yeah.
I mean, we need some of that tough love.
Yeah.
I don't care what's between your legs. Like, get out there and get the work done.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Back to, I mean, this is going to go really well with your movement and the positiveness and the reinforcement, and that's amazing. Certification, that's incredible.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. And Bijan, who's the owner of the gym that we go to, asked if I was interested in, helping with the master's program, and
that is so cool.
So I'm really excited about that, and hopefully and as we discussed way earlier, it'll be pre-scaled, 40 and above. Those
I qualify.
Yes, you do.
So it's going to be a special class?
Yeah, masters.
Interesting. I like the name.
Masters, yep.
I'm not going to see you in the 9 a.m. anymore?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to double dip?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's really cool. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
Everything you're doing, and just wanting, like also, it's very intimidating. Like, even the conversations we've had where you're putting yourself out there in front of people. You're setting your camera up. You're like, I'm going to do this. Yeah. So many people are like, oh my God, like, what are they going to think? I don't want to do this in front of people.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I thought that too, but I had been so encouraged by people, people at our gym, people at other gyms, when I had gone last year, all through last year.
You saw it happening other places?
Well, I talked to the coaches and other people, and God, I'd love to do like a scaling page. Like, I'm not, and I even say it on my very first reel, which I did on my 63rd birthday. like almost 2 months ago, just about 2 months ago, I started all this. And I was like, if you want expert advice, coaching tips, do not follow me. Do not follow me.
But if you want real life shit.
If you want to see, if you're interested, if you want to look like I do, if you want to be strong like I am, this is how I got to where I am. So I can show you what I do. That's all I can show you. Do not follow me if you're looking for anything else except for that. And then, the next few posts were, just hopefully motivating people to get out and move in any way you can. If you can't run a mile, walk a mile. If you can't do a squat, find a chair.
Right.
Sit down and stand up 10 times.
You know who amazes me is JP.
Yeah. She's 67. She's almost 67.
Dude, when it's ironic, but the very first time I started doing CrossFit, maybe I think I was 29 or 28, she was at my gym.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always dude, this fucking woman is awesome. And then then I started going to our gym 10 years later, and I'm like, oh my God, I recognize her.
She's still here, yeah.
She's still here, looks the same.
Yeah.
But dude, some of the stuff she does, kipping pull-ups, we'll be in a 30-minute workout like yesterday, and I'm on a fucking band, 3/4 of the way up the pole, the highest assisted band of anybody in my class. And then I look over round 7 and she's doing kipping pull-ups, and it's just what the fuck?
We work a lot of our stuff together.
I know it's since the beginning I've noticed you guys are really close.
We're super close. She
only
taught
two
me.
people I know who will talk in the middle of a 1,500 meter row.
I know. Yeah. Well, we only did 1,000.
And she got her husband started coming in.
Yeah, Dick. But she taught me a lot about scaling.
She doesn't scale anything.
Yes, she does.
Well, I'm exaggerating, but just her movement, her body weight strength is it's very impressive.
Yeah. Yep. She's also super. I hope she never hears this podcast. She's super competitive.
We could just tell.
Or
with you in general.
Yeah. She'll say, "How many did you do?" 6. I did 7. She outsquats me. She outsquats me by 20 pounds. But my upper body, I do more upper body. And she'll be like, I'm just not doing that today. I love JP so much. You should have her on.
I would. I want
She's got a good story too.
The coolest thing is just that we were just two people. I never even talked to her in the other gym. And now I see her, and we say hi to each other every morning and stuff.
Yeah, I think she's less of a scaled athlete now. This is her fun. This is her social. I
mean, come on. At this point, you too.
Right. Yeah.
You're not fucking going there because you have to.
No.
Or you feel like you like this.
Yep.
This is rewarding you in your life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Getting to a point where you don't have judgment over yourself is very powerful too.
Huge.
Not going in there and comparing yourself to everyone or
I can
worrying.
get there real fast though. If I'm not doing what I need to do.
You mean spiritually again?
I can get there super fast.
Well, that's that dark entity that always lives, is always there unless you're practicing what you preach.
Yeah, for sure.
You can default easily.
Yep.
You can fall right off that wagon.
Yep. Yes.
So it's important to always have these conversations with ourselves. I tell Owen all the time, every day, all throughout the day, I just tell myself how grateful I am and how, we want to talk about, we don't have this and this isn't working, but we're free. We do what we want to do.
And to be, I kind of feel to get to the place where you're grateful for your problems.
For sure. Don't ever forget the day. A lot of people I see are oh my God, I got to do this and that. And it's don't forget the day you wished for these problems.
Absolutely. To be able to go to work.
That's very easy for me to see, but I deal and I interact with a lot of people who are very opposite of that.
Yeah.
They complain and they're just seem stressed out and angry.
Are they young?
It's like, I mean, mid to late 30s, 40s. Not young, what I consider, but like still like complaining about all the opportunity they have. And it's like, dude, how can you be like this every fucking day? Like, look what you have. Look who's around you. You know, it's very interesting.
That, like at work and at home, I see the young, like 21, 22, 23. They're just very like expectant, kind of disrespectful, like just really entitled. But I'm sure that's what our parents said about us too.
For sure.
So, but I just see it, you know, like the difference between my oldest son, my youngest son, just in, and it could be personality, yes, but I think not all of it is, like the expectation of what life should be. But it's not just Terry, it's Terry and all of his friends. But, you know, also like when you're super into the cannabis industry and when you're that age, you think you're living like a king, and you're not a king.
I think when you're that age in general, you think you have freedom. You just, like at 18, you kind of experience this new wave of freedom. Like it's definitely king-like feeling. You know, you got to make your own decisions. Someone doesn't tell you everything you're doing. Like,
yeah,
you're smoking weed when you want to. You're doing this. You're doing that.
It's not just my son and his friends. It's like patients at work when they come in at that age. Yes. Yeah. Like super disrespectful. Like.
Well, we definitely don't have the same work ethic that we used to.
Oh, yeah.
It's very hard to find.
Where's all the people working in the delis? Like, deli's closed today. Sorry, no workers. Where's all the people who want to cut cheese? Like,
nobody.
You know what I mean? Where are they?
They're at home. They're deciding that it's easier for them to live where they're at, stay with their parents, than go be forced to make a living. Like, kind of like I felt like we were, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I just kind of remember, like, when I was turning 18, parents weren't like, hey, it's okay if you don't know what you're going to do, you can stay here. It was like, get the fuck out of our house and go figure it out. Like, there was still that sense of pushing, where there's now, I think, a sense of maybe a little bit less like, okay, well, let's be a little protective and he's safe here. And wasn't like that.
I think it's super hard to launch, and more people are staying home.
For sure.
Like Kelly, when he came back home after a bad breakup, he had been out, you know, for like 4 years. And he came home after a bad breakup and moved back in. And he's like, well, what am I going to tell girls that I want to date? Like, oh, I'm living at my parents' house. I'm like, yeah, because they are too. Yeah, they are too. And sure enough, you know, he went on a few dates, and now he's has a girlfriend who currently lives at my house, who's a nurse. I have 3 of my boys.
Things change.
Nurses. But anyway, she was at home. She was living at home. Now she's living at my home. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's fine.
That's just life. And as things change, and it's also a lot harder. Like, there's no housing. There's no houses that you can rent for what I would think is a normal price. Everything's pushed out. We live in a very...
Well, it's more expensive to rent than buy. It's almost the same to buy.
Except nobody will except banks won't approve you.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, you can afford this rent, but fuck it, we're not going to allow you to buy.
Sure.
No, you don't have 10 times the fucking mortgage. We're not loaning to you.
Very hard to launch.
MaryAnn, thank you so much for coming in. It was
Lance, thank you.
Such a joy speaking to you
for
and
having me.
Sharing everything that your experience and everything that you're doing. And
thanks for your interest in me. I was super excited to come in. It was great experience. And
there's a very peaceful place that you've been able to get to that a lot of people don't get a experience in life, you know, and just meeting everything head on and having that outlook that you have, and very special.
Well, thanks. If you
can't wait for that master's program.
Can I pitch my page?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Owen, is it okay?
Of course. Owen.
Well,
I'm the fucking one that calls all the shots around here, just so
he's recording you. He's recording you.
He just muted me.
Yeah. It's MaryAnn Mahoney 7. I think he's going to put it up.
We're going to put in the description.
Or you can go through my hashtag, which is
let's correct
sustainable, enjoyable, affordable.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lance.
And I'll see you at the gym in the morning.
Yes, I work tomorrow.
Oh. What is tomorrow? Thursday?
No.
Friday?
Thursday.
What about Friday?
I work Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday this week.
Oh, so you're only there Wednesday?
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. Yeah.
Nice. To all our listeners, get into a box. Try
Absolutely.
it out.
Do it. And if you can't, just give me a follow and just move. If you can't,
it'll change your life and your way you feel and your health.
Just if you can't run a mile, walk a mile. Like I was saying, find a chair, sit down and stand up 10 times. Instead of putting the plate up on the shelf one time, put it up 5 times. You know, if you're putting your flour away, do it 2 times instead of just 1 time.
The older you in the future will thank the younger you now.
100%.